Hey, Don here. Okay, I'm back again. I'm trying to stop I'm monitoring my live stream over there on my laptop, and I just want to make sure I stopped it, from playing. I let it play until it was just beginning to come in there, and there now I can see. Now it'll kind of remind me that, yeah, I was live last time. But anyway, the green line is what I look at in the time. Okay, so I am back here. All I'm going to do on the Dell 1525 laptop over here. I was just seeing where things are. Okay, on the laptop, I have Fedora 25 in fresh install of Fedora 25 64-bit, and I've been trying it out. And actually, I spent 10 times more time trying to make remote desktop work so I could record straight off of it, or I could record not straight off of it, but through the remote desktop to my Lenovo i5 to YouTube Live, and I could never get it. I got it working in every way except whenever I could control it, but I couldn't see what was happening over here on the desktop. And I finally said, this is crazy. I spent over a week messing with it. Spent at least 5 days, and I'm talking, several hours each time. So I said, okay, it's not worth the trouble anyway, because all I really wanted it for was to make a few videos. It's not something I'm going to use all the time on that laptop. And and I went ahead and tested. Right now I just have Firefox running there, and so I went ahead and when I wasn't making a video, I went ahead and one of the things I used it for years, well, the main thing I really used it for was watching TV. Over here I have it set up, and on the other side of it, so you can see I have the VGA plugged into it right now, but you have to unplug the VGA, and then it has an S-video on the other side, Super VHS. And over here, a cable that's 25 feet long, and it runs around to my TV, my old 1980s TV. And on top of there, I have a SVHS VCR, which is what I plug that cable into. I also have a DVD recorder with a built-in HD TV tuner. Sadly, I used it for years. Sadly, the DVD drive in it quit working. It still tunes, though, and you can get on the TV, watch TV if you want. But I use that TV only has a composite. I can't seem to hold my camera still. Has a composite input on the back and an RF input, so I use a combination of those for my inputs. But to get SVHS into it, you got to have something else. So that's what. And once in a while, I play a video on that tape. Still have some video tape. That's what I did for many years. Is record and watch my TV that way. Lately, in the last 6 months or so, I've just kind of gotten away from using it all because the laptop got to where it just couldn't keep up. It would get slow and start wanting to hang up on the video, and it wasn't. It's kind of hard to tell. Well, when the fan runs really fast on the thing, I know it's working hard and getting hot because it makes the fan come on. So I know that's a good, big sign there. It's a really loud fan. It rattles. So when it's running. But if you're having a caching issue, internet issues, then it's a little harder to figure it out. So anyway, I kind of got to where that, and my eyes are getting a little worse, and so I got to where I just couldn't see the characters on the TV screen as well, because it gets black bands on the top and bottom, well, just like this video is right now. That's what the TV basically looks like. And so things are smaller, and I really don't like sitting really close to the screen when I'm watching a video. Too much movement for me. But I've got to where I mostly watch how-tos on YouTube all the time anyway. So it's not a bunch of action and stuff and fast-moving stuff. So I've just been watching stuff on my computer monitor, and the way everything's set up in here, I can't you know, you can't see it too good. Let's see. Okay, back there behind the laptop, that's where I would sit. You know, got a straight shot to the TV. That's been great. And if you move around the room here, my audio rack and my here's my monitor. You know, I'm looking at. See, you got to sit over here. You can't see the monitor from anywhere but right here in front of the computer. And it's a 23-inch, you know, LCD monitor. It's a nice monitor. And it's just fine when I'm sitting right here. So let's get more and more to doing that. And so taking a little too long to explain simple things. Anyway, today I got the nose itches. Today I got I hadn't ever plugged it in since I put Fedora 25 on there, and Fedora 21 was already acting up by the last year or so. But you know, it's still, as long as you didn't give it but one web page open at a time and everything, and that, and maybe sometimes I always used to use Thunderbird. I'd email myself links and then go back and watch them later. Sometimes I would have to just close everything but Firefox, you know, so I could watch stuff. So I put 25 on there, and I went ahead and, you know, plugged it in and turned on the TV today. Heck, it just went nuts with the fan running hard as it could pretty much the absolute whole time. I tried it for about 10 minutes, and it could just barely play a YouTube video. And then I tried, I have Amazon Prime, and I tried that, and it couldn't. And I was getting those stupid DRM errors again, and sometimes you have to, it'll go back and forth. It'll work in Firefox, and then it won't. So I opened up, I have Chromium on there. I just have Firefox and Chromium. I don't have Chrome. I don't, and it wouldn't, it did the same error in Chromium. So, which tells me it probably would have in Chrome too. So I don't know what they're doing now. Every time they decide to change that code in that, it messes everything up for me, for everybody that's using Linux and, you know, Firefox, and probably Fedora anyway. I don't know about Debian and stuff. It may not give as much trouble, or may never work at all. I'm fixing to find out. So that's my point. I tried that out and kind of assessed the things that work and don't work and how well they work in my head. And I decided, sadly, that's came to in desktop. So this is my desktop. What I really meant to do is switch to here. Sadly, I decided that it's time to, much as I like Fedora, it's time to try Debian on here. And I like Debian, but, you know, all these years since 2005, I've used Fedora, except for a couple of years there I ran Debian. Otherwise, you know, I've tried out like hundreds of other distros just to try them out. But as far as daily use, all day, every day, it's been Fedora. So I'm going to say bye-bye to Fedora 25 and try Debian. And of course, if it ends up, like, there's one thing I haven't even configured yet. I decided not to even try unless I was sure I was going to keep it, and that's usually have to install the proprietary Wi-Fi drivers in Fedora, and I'm sure I would on Debian too. And I actually tried, you know, OBS Studio, what I'm using to stream with here. I actually tried installing it on here, and it wouldn't work. It said it's either your video chip won't support it, or you need the right drivers. And since it couldn't, I had it running in Fedora 21, and it would run, but it couldn't keep up. I guess I had the right drivers installed. I'm sure it did. So it's not that the chip just won't work unless they've changed OBS Studio since then. But that's the other thing, you know, I might, with the Debian, it's a lot lighter, so I might actually be able to use OBS Studio. It would work, but the thing would start getting hot, and it would, I had Windows 7 and Fedora 21 on it, and I remember it would work in Windows 7 for about 5 to 10 minutes, 20 minutes, and then it would just lock up and shut down. It would reboot itself, you know. So, and you can hear that fan running like crazy. And that was when I didn't have, my other desktop was a 1.8 gigahertz. It couldn't handle it. And that was before I got this quad core that I'm using now. So dual core may not really be able to do it, is the thing. So, I'm going to get over here and I'm going to show you some stuff. I'm going to put Debian on my USB stick. Get this. And we'll go ahead and install it. So let's get over here on my desktop, And here's the Debian the main page where you go to download stuff. Just go to debian.org, and well, this is the folder there is Distros. If you didn't know, that's how websites are laid out in folders, just like computers are. And hang on, I'm starting to get a little coffee. I'm going to drink some coffee to try to get rid of some coughing. Okay, so if you look around, it'll say Getting Debian. That's the link you click on from the Debian homepage in order to get here. It doesn't say download. If you do like I do, see, I always I hit Control F and then I start searching. Now that word download is on here on this page plenty of times, and the one that I like to, if you just want to install it, you can get these images, whichever one, you know, if you want 64-bit, 32-bit, whatever kind of machine, whatever you. This is what they used to call the net install. This one here, it's real small, but everything has to be downloaded, so it takes longer. This one is a DVD. It's bigger. And DVD size, it can go on a USB stick. They can all go on a USB stick or a CD or a USB. Well, the one that say DVD aren't going to fit on a CD. See, they have other sizes that'll fit on CDs there. And let me make sure I am where I think I am. Okay, yes. In other words, that I'm broadcasting the desktop. This one over here, Debian Live, try it before testing. That's the one. I've got 32 and 64-bit, and what I'm interested in is a 64-bit. And if you just don't want to fool with all that, you can order, and they'll for $5 you can order a CD or DVD, or and they'll mail it to you. And it shows you where you can go and buy computers with Debian already installed on it. And then over here, if you're interested in Debian 9, Debian 8's what's they're considering the go back here, the stable release. This is the one that you'll get. They're going to send you to in all the homepage and everything. And they call that, instead of telling you like, well, I mean, there's the version number right there. 8.8 was released. So and it's called Jesse. But it doesn't put it up in the titles and everything. It just threw me for loops round and around, because, you know, Fedora always says Fedora 20. You get to it quickly. Actually, when you go to the Fedora homepage, it doesn't say Fedora 25 right there on the homepage either. But anyway, when you go to the download links, it does. And so I was trying to find Debian 9, and I knew that I'd seen a video on somebody installing it, and I was like, where is it, you know? And so see, like right here, testing. And see, Fedora does it a little different. That's the other thing. Fedora has testing in their repos, and that's still the same version, you know. But in Debian, when they call it testing, that's the newest version that hasn't been released yet. Testing stable, and then they have unstable. I wouldn't personally fool with that. And see, then down here, there's some links to some all the way back to Debian 2. I didn't even ever go that far back. I think I started with Etch. I think maybe the first one I installed was Debian 4. It was called Etch and a Half. I remember that. I don't know if I might have tried one before that. I don't remember. Anyway. And that's kind of cool because they make it easy to find those. If you have old machines, I mean, Debian 4. Let's see, what do I have? Okay, I have 5 and 6, I believe it is, running on a 5 on a Pentium 3, 350 megahertz, and 6 running on a Pentium 3, 500 megahertz. And they run just fine. And you can, you can't run Flash and Java on the web browser, but you can search, text and I mean, you can go to any web page with it. But I think I went in and installed Java on one of them, or Flash or something, or Java or one or the other, just so I could try to read my weather homepage, and it won't run when you go there. So best not to install any Flash or Java on them. So anyway, testing is Debian 9 right now, as of now. When they come out with 9, then it'll change. It'll be the one that's called stable. That's what I mean by it gets confusing. So Debian 9. Okay, let me go over here to my ISO. I've already downloaded them. See, I've got i386, AMD 64, and see, when you download it, it tells you what the ISO name tells you. It's AMD 64. This is the net INST net install. Doesn't say domain 9 though, but yeah, so I didn't know until I booted it up, and then you see, oh, it's domain 9. I don't think I want to install, yeah, I know I don't, not on this machine. I don't want to install domain 9. I did run it in a virtual machine, and let's see, oh, I made some videos. Yeah, so if you want to see it, some of my previous videos here in this same playlist about Fedora and Debian will be, I ran Debian 8 and 9. I think I ran 60. Anyway, yeah, I believe I ran them both in my virtual machine here on this this machine right here. So that's where you want to go. It's Debian.org releases is where you can go to get. Well, you see that'll get you to all three of them. So, and then, of course, if you just go straight to, let's see how. There we go. That's the home page, right? Yeah, Debian.org. Here's what the home page looks like. And see the first link right there goes straight to Debian 8.8. So I believe that's how you get to that page. Or is that going to? No, that's going to download it. So there you go. You could just straight download it if you just want to. I don't know which one you're getting though. Oh, i386, AMD 64, i386, net install. Oh, that's the net install. So that would that won't have a great. You can't try it out though, but you could just install. And that would give you, you'll download whatever version you choose with the net installer. And what I have something on my browser called Scan with Virus Total. I even do this stuff I scan and check before I download it, any files. Nowadays, if I try to always do that. So I'm going to scan it first, and then you should be able to just, once it says it's clean, I would be shocked if it wasn't. Then I can highlight it and then say open link, and it'll do it, bring it up again. Sometimes it don't work that way, and you have to go back from where you started. But anyway, I'm going to go ahead and save that because it's not very big, and I'd like to have that for when I want to do an install. And you can just see that'll do everything from anything that the as old as the machine is would run it, which would probably be about a 486. I mean a Pentium 4 on up to brand new. That would get you covered for everything. That's why I decided to do that just then. Okay, so and here's all the links to all the other, everything about Debian and some information, some news and stuff like that. Getting started. See, so you don't know how to do it. Read these pages about getting started. And I tried to go back and find the page where it mentions using what I'm going to use, a little app called UNetbootin, but I didn't see it. So it's around here somewhere in the website. This page is the, let's see, how do you get, well, it's the one, oh, it's the manual. It's the, got to it from here somewhere. I don't see the link. Anyway, you're just gonna have to search around on it because I'm not good at remember what I did 5 minutes ago. This page here, Debian Jesse, which is the name of Debian 8. That's the code. They always call it the code name, and that's such a long deal. I'm not going to try to read that out. It wouldn't be something I would remember. Anyway, this is installation instructions. And of course, if you just start on the home page and start reading the links and you'll find your way to all this. It may take a while. That's why I'm trying to give a rundown. Maybe at least if you look through this video, then when you come back to the page, you'll recognize these pages. What I'm, oh yeah, that's where you want to be. So anyway, installation guide for each, and there's a link for each and every type. See, it's even other hardware besides regular. And by the way, AMD 60, the ones that are say AMD 64 will run. I believe. Let's see. Not sure about the 32-bit to be honest. It goes back and forth with different distros. But if you don't have an Intel processor, if you have an AMD processor, yeah, if they say AMD 64 like that right there, then that means it will run on AMD. It's a given that they run on 386. Intel processors, but AMD means it'll run on AMDs, and 64 means it's 64-bit. It's weird how they do that because it makes you think that that's an AMD 64-bit, that it's going to work on. That's not what it actually means, and they do that on most of the distros. So anyway, I think I'm going to close everything but the installation guide page I just, I got to keep my machine from not working too hard here. Doing pretty good right now. The website is like the distro. It's not overly full of things that make your machine work hard, so that's cool. And so I may end up let's see. No, I don't know where the page is that tells you about UNetbootin, but it's in here somewhere. If you start reading the installation guide, let's say, yeah, this right here, the one that I'm going to install. Let's see. Yeah, I've already put that in my. Maybe this is the page. Okay, preparing files. Let's see. I'll go back up here. Okay, let's just start right there. USB memory stick. Still not finding it. So anyway, that would be where you would go and get started. I mean, there's so much information, you're going to have to kind of pick and choose what you want to read. I mean, look at all that. You're not going to, I've never read all that and never needed to, But, it's good to say, read the Welcome to Debian. What is Debian if you don't know any of that, And then USB memory stick, booting, preparing files. Okay, let's go to memory stick booting. Yeah, preparing. Now it'll tell you straight off all these. This is why you want to know about these things, these graphic user apps to help you do this. See, they're telling you how to do it all in the command line. Now, if you get one little thing wrong, it either won't work or you could end up reformatting your hard drive on your machine real quick and easy. So I don't ever do that. I mean, I've never done it because I've never had to. First, I mean, I got into computers, really got into computers in Windows 98 in 1998. And the reason I started getting into them is because everything was graphic user interfaces, and I was introduced to computers in 1975 at a little job fair at my high school the year I graduated high school. I thought it was cool, but and I knew how to type. I'd taken typing class in 7th grade or 6th grade, and I sat down there. The guy wanted to show it to me. I sat down there, and I said, I don't know what to do, and he said, well, type this and type that, and I did it, but it was super simple DOS commands, And he said, see, you could do that. You'd be good at it. And I said, but I knew that I don't have a good memory for new languages. Apparently, and that's a new language, to anybody. But some people are really good at that. And so, I really just didn't take on. And until 92, some friends of mine had a Windows 3.1 computer, and they were also on the internet, and I liked it, but there wasn't much on the internet that interested me then. There wasn't all this wonderful ability to research and find things really easily. And, of course, there was no video on the internet to watch or anything, a few pictures and some chats. And actually, I'm sure the government Gopher sites were there where you could find out information there and other things like research from colleges and stuff. But it wasn't like it is now. It wasn't like it was in 98 when I really started getting into it. But when I got back onto a computer, back in, I learned how to do address books and databases and stuff, and then I got, I didn't mess with it a lot until 98. So once I got on a computer, actually it still was Windows 3.1, it still worked fine at that time. It wasn't 98, it was Windows 3.1, I got 98 later on, a year or two later. There was a 486 with Windows 3.1 on it, 3.1.1, and I used it for several years and learned a lot. I remember when MP3s were invented, I was working on that 3.1 computer. So it was a Packard Bell 486. So anyway, point being that now that when in the Linux world, they just love to tell you how to do everything in the command line. Well, that's the hard way for most of us. And so I'm going to show you how to do this. in the graphic user interface, because that's what makes computers usable for people, for us mere mortals. If you start typing in UNet, it should have come up, but it didn't. But if I can type there now, there's 2 apps I have on here. There's quite a few others, but multi-writer, if you wanted to write a bunch of USBs at once, you could do that. If you're wanting to make some to give to your friends, I don't think I've ever actually done any writing with it, but it's looked easy to use. But anyway, I just mentioned it because it came up. UNetbootin is an old standby for me and many people. And you have to give in your root password. And yes, there is a Windows executable. Oh, I didn't go to the Windows site, did I? I mean, yeah, let me go ahead and get my browser open. Let me find my links here. See, I have several different sets of links. Yummy, Pendrive Linux are good ones. There's some more. See, there's a lot of them to choose from. USB DVD creators, CD creators. You can install ISOs you choose, or you can. I'm going to just do a search so I can find their page. Okay, here we go. Just go straight there. Here's the UNetbootin page. Downloads for Linux, and it looks like that's what I just happened to choose, was the Linux. Let me go here. I just want a blog post on my blog about it. This is older, but it still will take you to the site and everything. And this is my blog, DonsDeals Blog. It's donsdeals.blogspot.com. You can go on here and search for stuff. You'll get a lot of results. It's actually a custom Google search, but it doesn't actually work as good as real Google. But I mean, if you're really not to discourage you from using it, because I've been posting, stuff about software, Linux and Windows software and all of the kinds of stuff for many years. So yeah, go there. The search may be you may have to read through a lot of links. Let's see. But anyway, this is a whole how-to. It's a little old, but it kind of gives you the rundown. And then if you're that's actually from there. So let's go there. I think it's going to take you right back, back to their SourceForge page. But the link must have changed. So I need to fix that. So I won't do that now, though. As tempted as I am to do it while I'm thinking about it. Let's see. I was going to say. Yeah, I'm going to just do a search for UNetbootin so I can explain what I'm mumbling on about here. See, there's different posts about that have UNetbootin in them in my blog. And so anyway, it's the search works okay, but not as well as I'd like it to. Let's see. Oh, that'll probably take you to the main page. I was trying. Okay, here we go. There's the main page. And see, there's Windows, Linux, and Mac. So you can use it. That's one reason I wanted to recommend it, because you can use it on, the 3 main operating systems, as far as I'm concerned anyway. Well, I don't use Mac, so I don't consider it anything but just something I'm not interested in. But now let's see. I think I will make it like that. I don't know. Sometimes it's easier to read like that. Sometimes it's not. But sometimes the background image is a little distracting, so we'll see. Yeah, I think that might be better. Okay, now with UNetbootin, when you open it up, and this drop down here, you can choose the distro that you want to do. So it'll download it for you. That's what I'm getting around to. Now, all that stuff I explained about how to download and all the ISOs and all that, you actually don't have to go through all that if you don't already have it downloaded like I do. You can click Debian is what you want, or if you know about some of the distros, or you just want to try them out. I've done that before. I've found distros in these apps that I've never heard of and tried them out. There's a pretty good list. Fedora is one of them. I accept Fedora is still in here, and you can download it, but you won't be able to install from it. You can boot the live ISO, and it doesn't even come up to the new version. It only comes up to Fedora 22. You could install Fedora 22, I bet you. I bet it would work. But Debian will get the new one. But anyway, if you want to install Fedora, go back and look at my previous videos. I made some specific start to finish videos on installing Fedora 25. So Debian, stable net install, that's the one I just got through downloading. Actually, I got the 64-bit. And that, you choose your architecture. If it just says stable, if it doesn't have the architecture, the x86 or the x64 at the end, that's 64-bit. The other ones are 32-bit. And so, you know, if you have a 64-bit capable machine, you're probably going to want 64-bit because you'll just end up with more features in the apps, because 32-bit is getting long in the tooth now, and they're not writing. Well, there's some things that it can do that 32-bit can't do, for one thing, but especially with audio and video stuff. Other thing is they're just beginning to not write as the apps. They're maintaining the older apps, but the new ones are you know, they may run on 32-bit, but they may not fully function right, and all kinds of things like that. So anyway, testing would be Debian 9, and unstable would be, I guess, the nightly builds of Debian 9. Okay, so, but you don't have to do that either. You can do what I'm going to do, go down here and click. So when you click down here, that radio button, disk image and ISO, that's what I have, you know, over here. And I just downloaded another one. I need to go ahead and, while I'm at it, move it over here to that folder so that it will, one of my backups happen, that won't, I'm just going to hit move. It is finished, isn't it? Let me go make sure before I do that. If it's not finished, it should be. Yeah, it's finished. 557 megabytes. Okay. But this is my favorite file manager, by the way, if I haven't mentioned it in this video. I mention it every chance I get. Okay, so that'll move over there. Should be fine. I'm going to go back to where I was so I just leave that folder open when I'm making videos so I can monitor the progress of my videos. There we go. It's over there. Okay, so that's the, see what I have here now is the 8.8 AMD 64 i386 net install. So you can choose pretty much anything that's available, any kind of average. Well, I mean, it's those what they used to call exotic architectures. You won't get those, but you'll get the AMD and Intel. And then there's the i386 for, that was 8.7.1. That was a little bit older version, but when you update it, it'll come back up to the, you know, the present one. And this is a 64-bit I downloaded a week or so ago. And then here's the one that's going to be Debian 9. And it's just, but these are live. Those two are live. That's different. This is a net install. That's a net install for Debian 9. Actually meant to rename that to 9, but I'm not going to. I don't know if it would throw anything off. It shouldn't, but it might throw something off in its test. It's checking with the, you know, the checksums. So anyway, this is the one I'm going to be doing right here. And with, let's see, so you select this image. You can, you know, the little blue radio button won't be blue up here anymore. It'll be blue down here. And then you always want to pay attention to where this is at. It usually goes to USB drive. Okay, well, actually, yeah, I don't have my USB stick plugged in. So let me plug it in. You want to be super careful because I don't want to write this to my, sometimes, I'm not sure, I can't remember if UNetbootin, I think you have the choice of formatting it or not, but if it's going to format it, which is what is always a possibility, and usually, actually, I have Fedora on here, so it has to be formatted to work on this USB stick. I'll show you what my USB stick here, regular old, it's an older model, it's kind of big. This says Fedora 9 on it, I mean Fedora 25 on it, and it's got to be reformatted because it's a whole different way of writing it on there than the way Debian's going to do it. So I'll put it in. And I may or may not have to actually, okay, it sees it and it's mounting it, but I'm just going to cancel on that. But the app here, see, I already had it opened up. Well, it may be seeing it. No, it's not. Yeah, so if you forget like I just did, then close UNetbootin and open it. So here's where it says Fedora Mate 25, and then there's another partition on there that's for Windows machines that won't go away. Yeah, there it is, UNetbootin. So in my little search, I can do that. Now, I have to do my root password again. If you're on Linux, this is what you'll be doing. You know, you have to type in your root password and everything. When you're working in the bottom of this little window, it's kind of easier for me to see it like that than having a full. Usually, I like everything full screen, but so yeah. But it's, you know, it does when you do the drop down list, it makes it hard. Okay, so it sees hard disk and USB drive. Now that's, oh, there it is, FDC2. Now, which one is my backup drive that I have my images on, and which one is the one I just plugged in? Well, I don't know 100% for sure. I can find out. Let's just go into that first, in case you need to ever do that. Let's see. So on my Fedora system, I can type in disk. Let's see. There it is. And it'll open up this little app right here. And it'll show every drive in my system. So what I can do is find the 2 GB thumb drive. See, you can see all the partitions on it there. That's the way Fedora does it. It's quite a bit different. There's SDC1, 2. Yeah, see, SDC2 is what it sees. It's probably not able to even see that, this app. So in this case, I think I'm going to have to go ahead and use Gparted. We can try it. So it's not seeing what I was concerned about is it's seeing my where's my backup drive? Usually I just unplug it to be safe. It's SDB1. Okay. So rather, yeah, that, as long as I know for sure what is what. And this is the graphic app that you can use to see what's what with your Linux system. There's a couple others, Gparted and stuff, which I may need to use Gparted. This one is not as great at formatting stuff as Gparted is. Sometimes it'll give errors. So let's just go ahead and switch over to Gparted. But this one is quick and easy to see what's what. But Gparted is an easy app name to remember. I never can remember the name of this app. Let's see, about disks. But it's actually Gnome Disk Utility, and it doesn't. I don't think it comes with Fedora anymore. You have to install it. It used to just come with Fedora, but see, with my USB stick, they're pretty easy. Although I do have two identical ones, but so if I had them both plugged in there, I'd have a hard time figuring out which one is which. But SanDisk Cruiser pattern, I know that's the right one. So, but it has all these partitions on it, and they each have a different name. Name, what I'm saying is address, or however you want to say it. It'll always be dev, but the first partition on there, SDC1. See, the only thing showing up to this app is SDC2. That kind of gives me a clue. Now, if you have a partition that's just Fat32, then it should just see just one partition on it, or if it's empty or whatever. If you have I don't know what I just said, USB stick is what I'm trying to say. That's Fat32 formatted, or exFAT, exFAT. You might have to reformat it if it was exFAT, or you may be able to write straight to it. But I think what's going to happen is it's going to say, oh, there's not enough space. See, that's only 5.4 megabyte. That's a FAT12. What? A FAT12? Really? Oh, FAT, but 12-bit version. Okay, let's go into Gparted and get this cleared up. Gparted is some things about it I like better. I think I'm going to have to blank the disk, delete the partitions on it. That's what I'm beginning to think. And sometimes these apps will. The driver descriptor says a disk physical block size is 2048 bytes, but Linux says it's 512 bytes. So it's trying to mount one of the drive. It must be this USB stick, this one with Fedora on it, I think. I'm going to say ignore so that I think the app might close. Okay, partition 1 on SDC. Yeah, SDC. See, this is SDC2. Partitions 1 dev.sdc have been written, but we have been unable to inform the kernel of the change, probably because they are in use. As a result, the old partitions will remain in use. You should reboot now before making further changes. Okay. I'm going to hit cancel this time because I'm not sure what was going on there. That's not a very normal thing. Okay, dev SDA. See, this is what you got to be careful of. That's my hard drive. I have the Windows. See, I haven't reformatted this one yet. I still have my old Windows 7 stuff on there that actually got viruses in them. But this right here is what I'm running on. I definitely don't want to hurt this until I'm ready to reinstall a new Fedora 25 on it. And up here, you would click here and you'd see your other SDB. Now, that's not showing everything. There we go. Okay, this is my Seagate expansion drive, my USB drive. Now, if you don't have a backup drive, a USB drive like I do, you won't even see this, of course. 4.55 terabytes. Now, I definitely don't want to accidentally format that. Letting this app, I actually kind of like doing it better with Gparted because you know for sure where you're at. The app, only sees that one partition. And unless you check like I just did, you don't know which. All you know is it's a USB drive, but you don't know which one. See? So, do not. The safest thing to do is have only one USB drive plugged in. So I think I'm going to end up just doing that. Because the last thing in the world I want to do is lose all my. I make mistakes all the time, even though I understand this stuff. I still, sometimes I go too fast and I make mistakes. So SDC. Now here we go. Here's it's what I kind of suspected. See, look at all those extra partitions. It didn't used to be that way with Fedora, but that's how it is now. And that was done automatically by the Fedora Media Writer app. So, and Gparted doesn't understand these two partitions here. So that's why they're highlighted. They're got the little triangles on them. You could say manage flags. Yeah, there's that. See, that's that thing that we got a while ago. Okay. And you could say information, and it'll say unable to read the contents. See, like this one. Oh, see, it's got a FAT16 on there. I thought I saw one that looked like a FAT16. It's a FAT16. That's the oldest partition type, file system type. One of the oldest. And then it's got some unallocated space. So now what I'm going to want to do is delete all that, but I'm not worried about, this I want gone. But I'm not worried, I know I'm not on I know I'm on the right drive here. I can see that. I'm going to go ahead and close the UNetbootin app because it'll need to be refreshed, it'll look at it freshly. But let's see. I just want to be super careful. So here's what I'm going to do. I'm going to close this, and you don't really have to do this if you feel secure and you're straight. Your mind is straight, and you feel secure, and you know what's going on. But if you don't, then better to be safe than sorry. So what I'm going to do is get over here on my hard drive, and I already have a Linux ISOs folder. And I'm going to make a Debian folder, and then I'm going to copy the ISO that I want, Debian Live 8.8 AMD64, copy over here, and then I can unplug my big old backup drive and not have any risk of hurting it. The only one I have to pay real good attention to is my hard drive. And you can't get around that when you're doing this because you got to be right. Well, you could work in a live file system or something, but this is kind of heavy work, and you'd probably have to have something even more RAM than 4 gig what I got, and well, you might could get by with it on this machine. But anyway, it's not. I've been doing it. I've never had a disaster with my hard drive, but I do get leery about messing up USB sticks because they're in the same general type of addresses, and they can easily for me to confuse. So, go back to my videos folder. Now I have that in my local drive. So, I'm going to unplug my USB hard drive, the big one. I'll leave the little USB stick plugged in, and we're going to end up burning this onto that USB stick. But first let's open up UNetbootin again. Let's see what it does. I'm looking over at my stream. Yeah, it looks good. It's good to have that laptop running and tell me what's going on with my live stream. That's for sure. Okay, I'm gonna pull this over here. Now, it shows the same thing as before, which is what I would expect actually. Don't ever choose your hard disk unless you. The only reason you'd ever want to do that is if you were using a hard disk and a USB adapter and it was showing up as a hard disk. Really, I can't think of any instance where the hard disk on your machine. I mean, if you had a spare hard disk in there, then maybe you might do that, but that would mean you probably know as much or more about all this than I do, so you don't need my advice and all that. Okay, so let me go back to Gparted. Get that open up. And once it finishes reading, I think it's probably going to bring up those same errors again. Yeah. So it's those, I'll say ignore this time. And the other one says, partitions 1 on the diff have been written, but we have been unable to inform the kernel of the change, probably because they are in use. As a result, the old partitions will remain in use. You should reboot now before making further changes. Yeah, that really throws me off. I'm like, what? I think it's talking about my hard drive, but it's talking about, and I see I was able to figure that out, that for sure it's talking about this by reading those flags. I right-clicked on there, read manage flags, and I saw that exact same note. And then this one is same thing about that. Okay, now here's what you need to do though. Here's the other thing you need to try to do, at least. Sometimes you can do it, sometimes you can't. Right click on there. That one's not mounted. See, it says, well, no, it is mounted. So you want to say unmount. Oh wait, you don't want to. Well, you don't want to unmount them yet. Then it'll go away and you won't be able to see it to format it. It's been a little while since it's been 2 weeks. I didn't have to do. I did it with Media Writer anyway. There's all these little ins and outs that I forget. Okay, now that's the. Let's go back. I didn't say what I was doing on this one. I right-clicked on information. Let's see. Unable to read the contents. Okay, yeah, see, that with this particular version of Gparted, this is where, you could even, like the newest versions of Gparted would, like in Fedora 24, 25, I think would read these file systems here. But all I'm trying to do is delete them, and I've done it before. It will do that. But sometimes you can't delete them when they're activated, so let me see. I think you do have to unmount and then deactivate. I'm going to try it because all I have to do is unplug it and plug it back in. Unmount. See if if it still shows the drive, then I'll be okay. But if it doesn't, then I'll have to. The driver descriptor says the block size is wrong. Okay, I'm going to say ignore. Same one again. Okay. Okay, so that worked. It didn't go away. Sometimes it didn't unmount it either. Okay, so there's your problem. You can't. Oh, you know what? I think I ran around and around with this. When you have a little Fedora Live system on one of these sticks, I may not be able to delete all this in Fedora. I think what I've done before is do it in, like put it on the system I'm going to install to and boot up to Party Magic or something, or a Debian, or of course, I haven't burned Debian on here yet, but what I'm going to do, I'm going to start at the bottom, I'm going to say delete. If it doesn't work, as long as I know I'm on dev SDC and not on my hard drive, then I'm okay. And okay, yeah, see, it won't even let you choose delete. So that, now see, what you do, you would click that check mark and it would do all those operations. Or if you say, oh, I don't want to do that, then you can hit the back button. Yeah, but if you can't those errors are telling me, I guess, if I was not trying to go fast and talk and work at the same time, I might catch on a little better. But yeah, there's no way to deactivate it. And it said there was errors, you know, it couldn't wasn't working right, basically. So I can't deactivate it so that I can delete it. If you can't select delete, then you're not going to do it. So let's see if the regular disk app can do it. I believe most of the time I have more trouble with it than I do with Gparted. Gparted is my favorite overall, but okay, let's go here again. Now let's see if I can deactivate it here. Let's start right here. This is the one. That's the one with the Fedora ISO image on it. Okay, now that would be to stop it. Unmount and delete. Okay, unmount. Okay, I think it worked. Yeah, not mounted. Okay. So this app can work with it. Now let's see if that one. Okay, see that doesn't have, that has the play button. Well, I don't know why they use play buttons, but so we don't want to mount it. That one does too, and that one does too. And that's empty space. Okay, now it doesn't really matter which order you delete these in, I don't think, but for some reason I always like to start at the close to the end and work back. Sometimes that seems like it's worked better. Just make sure you're not on the wrong thing, but you're not. 1.5 gigabytes, you know, this is not big enough to be a hard drive. 2 gigabytes, SanDisk cruiser pattern. So I'm going to hit the minus button. Are you sure you want to delete that partition? All data on the partition will be lost. Partition 3 of 2.0 gigabyte thumb drive SanDisk. Yes, delete. Now, error deleting. Okay. Okay, so we can't delete it. Okay, but what we were successful is doing, just like I was thinking, what we were successful as doing was unmounting it. So let's see what we can do in Gparted. If all else fails, I might have to boot it up into a live domain, or well, probably just Parted Magic is what I would do. It's full of tools for this. See, I only got one. I didn't read it. I was not paying attention. Forgetting that I'm actually trying to demonstrate things. Anyway, I only got one error that time. So let's go to the dev SDC. Okay, now it says unknown and all that, but it's not mounted. So, and now we can delete it. So what I'm going to do to make sure there's no conflicts, I'm going to close this other app. I'm done using it. So there you go. Use the Fedora disk app to unmount it. It can do it, and Gparted can't. And that's just, I think if this is Fedora 23, and if I was 24 or 25, I think it can do it. I'm pretty sure it can. So, and there's also buttons up there at the top, so you can hit delete, delete, delete. Now, see, now that you've got them all showing, but this hasn't been done yet. You have to click the check mark, apply all operations. Dev SDC. That's the main address of the drive itself. Now it's not, you know, with no partitions on it. See down here, it tells you what it's going to do. Delete SDC1, SDC3, SDC2. And so we're going to say, do it. Are you sure you want to apply that? Cause data loss and all that. Of course, you are losing data, but it's not data that you care about. You just want to make sure you have not done this on your hard drive. Now, I'm getting that error again. It says the physical block is 24048, but Linux says it's 512. I'm going to say ignore because I want it to do it, if I can. Partition map has no partition. Okay, partition map has no partition map entry. I'm going to say fix. I was kind of thinking that might happen. Okay, I'm going to hit ignore. I got a feeling we're stuck in a circle. Okay, now all operations were successful, so we did delete everything. Okay, so that worked. Normally you don't have so many errors to deal with, but I guess this is a good thing to find out about. I'm thinking what's going to happen. See, the way Fedora writes, and it's another one of those errors, so I'm going to say ignore. Okay, now we still have a little bit of space left on there that we don't want. Or wait, let's look at the flags. This might be that little, that right there, that U3 system. That's the one that you can't delete. Can't actually remember. Isn't that the funniest picture in the world? Maybe not the funniest picture in the world, but I thought that was funny. Going fishing, I guess. Okay, so that shows 7.45 gigabyte though, and that's wrong. And that's a scary thought there, but that's because you remember it said it was showing it wrong. So let's see, manage flags again. Yeah, see the driver descriptor says the physical block size is 2048 bytes, but Linux says it's 512. Yeah, well, it's going to be 512. Okay. I'll manage flags. I'm going to just give it a boot flag. Oh. Well, I want it to be a boot flag, but you can't do it. Okay, so I hit close. Now what I'm going to do is write. I'm going to see if I can delete this first. Let's see if we can delete this first. Okay. Still running into the same problem. I guess when I hit fix is when it, yeah, that's hitting fix added that extra little strange partition. Okay, now we've deleted everything. Looks like we're going to be back the way we want to be now. It's still doing that though. Well, it's not either. It's back like that. All right, now here's something that I'm going to try. Create a partition table. That's what's wrong, is our partition table is messed up. And we want MS-DOS. That's the standard. I mean, there's all these other kinds, but we want MS-DOS. Okay. Okay, it says invalid argument. Cancel. Might have to. Sometimes you have to. Usually with USB sticks, you don't have to what they call reset the disk. With hard drives, you do have to unplug them and plug them back in. But it is back to normal though. Now it's back to normal. But let's see. Yeah, 1.86 gigabyte. This is a 2 gigabyte stick, so usually they're 1.9, but sometimes it is a little different. I'm going to see if I can write. I don't know if it sounded to me like it did not write the partition table properly, but let's do it again. See what happens. See if it does it without any errors. Those Fedora partitions really, yeah, now no errors. So it's best to keep working on it to quit having errors. Okay, now we should be able to write to it. Pretty sure UNetbootin can format it for us. If not, well, we can format it Fat32 from here. You would just, you can say right click and say new. And then you would make sure you want to do, you can drag these little deals, make sure you're going all the way to the front and all the way to the back. And see, it defaults to ext4. You don't want that. You want Fat32. Sometimes it'll just say fat. Some apps you don't say. See there, this one can do Fat16. It can do all kinds of stuff. And Fat32 is what you want. But I'm going to just leave it as is because I think UNetbootin can do it for us, and it's more likely to work better with UNetbootin if it's the app that did it. You could also do it with that disk app in Fedora, but it usually doesn't work quite as well. Sometimes it'll get errors like it did a while ago. So I'm just going to close that. And of course, we didn't hurt our hard drive, or else we wouldn't be running anymore. And now I'm going to open up UNetbootin again. But you see, I'll go ahead and open it up. But we can see here, U3 file system, that's still mounted, and that is that little Windows partition with about 64 megabytes of little Windows apps on it. So that part never did unmount it. It didn't, and you can't delete it. I tried because I just didn't want that space being wasted, but you can't on this SanDisk. Now, other drives, I think that was something they did for a few years there, and then they kind of quit doing it because I mean, I guess it just depends on what brand of stick you have and what it was kind of, some of their so-called features, that's what that was. It's kind of a feature to make interactiveness with Windows, to make it, basically there's some portable apps for Windows that they put on there. And so some other drives may have stuff like that on them, but since I don't even hardly use Windows much, I didn't want any of that, But anyway, let's put this back over here. Okay, so now we're going to say disk image, ISO, USB drive, leave it on that, make sure it stays on that. Now it doesn't see it. Okay, so no, it's not going to format it for me. Too bad I can't remember things. It's not going to format it. Some of these apps like this one, it's a non-destructive. It will only write to a already formatted disk. Some of them will format it for you. That's nice, but it's also can be dangerous if it's not as easy to tell where you're really going with it. Like this one is kind of hard to tell. So what I'm going to need to do, as a matter of fact, no, let's don't do that. With USB sticks, you usually don't have to take them out and put them back in, reset them. And if I take it out and put it back in, I'm afraid it won't be seen by the system again. Sometimes that happens when you do that. So if it ain't broke, don't fix it. So I'm going to go back to Gparted. Looks like I'm going to have a cough drop. I've been using so many cough drops lately. I was starting to think they were making my throat sore. There was these other kinds of cough drops I used. Were they cough drops? Yeah. Well, they were allergy medicine, really. That were natural. And actually, I figured out by using them, too many of them, they would make your throat sore. And then they actually went off the market, so I think there was a real problem with them. But here's my hard drive. You can see everything's still good there. Dev SDA, 232.89 gigabyte. Dev SDC, as this says, unallocated. See, it's not seeing that little, it's a hidden partition. It's really hidden because Gparted can see normal hidden partitions. I really have never learned how they managed to do that and not let, I mean, that will show up. When it's all, it's kind of weird. It'll come and go as far as being seen, and it may be showing in the. Let's just see. In the disks app, it may show up right now because see, you can still see the drive. Well, it just shows to be empty. Yeah, there's no little bitty. Sometimes I'll see it, and sometimes I won't. When you're deleting stuff like this, it's still there, but it doesn't show up. And then I believe after I format it here, it may show up, but you still can't do anything to it or with it. So anyway, and that could be one of the reasons why I have all these. Well, it's only with the newer Fedoras that I have all these crazy problems. I bet, like we just had, that I never remembered how to get around. So I want to go. I don't just leave it like that. So you do have 1 megabyte of free space. You can't get rid of that. And so anyway, that's going to be FAT32. And you can put a volume label on there, but when you write your Linux ISOs, it usually puts one in there. Like it may say UNetbootin or something. So, but if you already have one in there, sometimes it throws that off. So I'll leave it blank. So I'm going to hit add. Now 1.86 gigabytes, what it's going to be. Dev SDC, say yes, we're going to do that, and it's already done. I started to open up the details and it was already done. So create empty partition, clear old file system, set partition type, create a new file, 32-bit file system. I mean FAT32 file system, not 32-bit. It's not finished until it kind of reloads. Now everything looks good, no more flags. And if you want something to boot, then you usually want to give it to, there's the information about it. And then on the manage flags, so you could say boot. When you're using these apps to burn your USBs, you usually don't have to do that, but I don't think it really hurts. So you want to make sure it can boot, so you can do that. That makes it a bootable disk. If you ever do have problems that, say if you were using those commands, you might have to go in here and do this to make it a bootable disk. Or if you're doing it with some other app that didn't, but from what I can't tell if I remember or not, we'll do that to be safe. Hopefully I didn't actually fight this app, you know. Okay, back to UNetbootin again. Now, what do we see? USB, you're really best, if it says USB device, you know you only have one plugged in, it's best to leave that thing alone right there. But, I mean, well, you know, there's only one to choose from now, Dev SDC1. And it doesn't say SDC, it says SDC1 because it's seeing that partition. You notice, if I would have thought to mention it in Gparted, it says Dev SDC. Well, I did say it. I remember saying it a couple of times. But this is the only one, so you're not... if it was SDA, then that would be your hard drive most of the time, 99% of the time. So just make sure it does not say hard drive here. And of course, it all depends on your configuration of your system. Like if you have a backup USB drives like I did, that's why I just unplugged it. See, with all that crap going around and around in circles, I could have easily jacked up my backup drive. So since it's unplugged, there was no chance of that. The hard drive and the USB stick I'm trying to write to is the only ones I had to worry about. So that's why I did that. And I'm really glad I did now because I went around in circles. But I did. It's kind of crazy because I've done this stuff for all these years, but yet I still have to figure things out over and over again. Well, I mean, of course, I'm drawing on my vague memories of my previous experience. But so I'm talking and not showing. Just a sec. I try not to smack when I have one of these things, but it's hard not to. And it's also complicating matters here for talking. Okay, so disk image is that radio button selected. It's a little blue there. ISO. You can do what they say floppy, and that would be looking for an IMG or maybe one other type. I can't remember. But I mean, you know, who uses, you know, who uses floppies anymore? Well, I do sometimes, but that's not a concern pretty much most of the time. And you don't use, sometimes, you know what I think sometimes when you get a image that is for USB sticks, it may say IMG, but from what I remember, I don't think you can just, you know, pick floppy and get an IMG for a USB stick and make it work in UNetbootin. Most of the time, some apps actually have another selection that says USB, you know, image or whatever. But in here, you're going to want the ISO, and it will work perfectly, or it always has. Famous last words, but it always has work. And I'm pretty sure we'll be able to install Debian. If not, I could be wrong. Well, it said on, I never did find the right page, but it said on the Debian website that you could use UNetbootin. There's other ways to do it. Yeah, I'm pretty sure this is going to end up working. Okay, so I'll click here where the dots are, and you quit using words and use dots now since mobile phones became the thing. It's the most ridiculous thing in the world, but there you go. But if you hover over it, it says select this image file. Now, I was fixing to go to my backup drive, but it's not there, but I did put it in my downloads folder. Oh, what's going on here? It's not showing anything there. Maybe that's in... Oh, okay, so you had to type UNetbootin as super user. So it's going to the roots download folders and stuff, see? But I didn't put it in root, I put it in Don. So that's the home directory. See, according to this app being run as super user, the home directory is root. If you pay somewhere in here, you'd see it. It's tricky, see, it fooled me. But when I got in there, see, there's something in there, but I don't have any downloads. Like, what? So what you need to do is go to, usually it just says file system. If this app's a little different, so you're going to have to pick, well, here's what you can do. It's also using the weird, for some reason it's not using my default buttons that I'm used to, but I'm going to say go up. Now I can see the whole file system. If you click on home, you're back where you were. So what you normally can do, most when you're not running as super user, an app as super user, as root, or as root user, aka root user, then normally you won't have this confusion. But anyway, I'm going to go back and I'm going to go to home, downloads. Now see everything's there. So that's another thing to learn. And let's see, where's my Linux folder? Normally I just have to get in there and start typing because I just don't see stuff. Oops, I accidentally clicked on it. Let's see if we can go back. Oop. No, let's just do it again because I went so fast I didn't see what happened. This one doesn't do double click, it does single click, and I'm not used to that. Downloads. Type an L to find the Linux directory, Debian. There. See, my finger just kind of normally jumped and hit it. So there's the image, Debian, AMD 64 mate. There, it goes in there. I mean, there's nothing wrong with the way it works. It's just different than what I'm used to. That's just UNetbootin the way it works. Okay, so we're going, the AMD 64 Debian 8.8 is going to go to the USB drive, dev SDC1. We're all sure about that. So we're going to say, you must first mount the USB device. Oh, right, because I just formatted, but I didn't mount it. Most distribution will do this automatically after you remove and restart the drive. So, yeah, you could unplug it and plug it back in. I'll just do that. Or you could go into, let's don't do that. Let's go into, Gparted because it's an easier app. It's an easier app to see what's going on in for me. So I think it's going to be that way for most people, especially people who might be new to this. You can do it in the disk app too. So up here, that's dev SDA. You want to go to dev SDC, click on it, then you can right click and then say mount somewhere in here. It's not allowing you to do that. So you know what? Since I just formatted it, I believe it is going to have to be reset. This may all change and I may have to go back and redo all this. Let's see what happens. Actually, to be safe, I'm going to close the app and do that. Okay, I'm going to take it out and put it back in there. Okay, so you saw the U3 system unmounted. Okay, we plug him back in, and it not only mounted, but it opened up the folder. Of course, it's empty, so there's nothing to see there. But now, so you have U3 system and 2 GB volume. So that's the what it gave it as a name. Go back. Okay. Now, we're back in again. Yeah, if I had a decent memory, I wouldn't go around in circles, would I? USB drive, dev SDB1. Okay, so we know that's not our hard drive because, well, we've gone over that over and over. SDA would be our, let's check though. We don't want to mess up. One good thing about the disk app is it can see it all laid out in one. And you can go straight to it without, as long as you're not trying to do an operation, you don't have to be root. The 250 GB hard disk, see, this is all the partitions on my hard disk. CD drive, of course, there's nothing in there. 2 GB USB, dev SDB1. And that's a quick way to see that address of it. See, so you know for sure you're going to the right place. CD, it replicates things, but I mean, this is the whole hard drive. This is a CD. This is the thumb drive of the whole thing. This is a CD again. And what's the difference here? Dev SRO. Dev SR1, I don't know, to be honest. I don't have a OneDrive in here. 32 GB block device, 4.3 GB. That's part of the file system. 4 GB. That's part of the Fedora. It says Fedora Lenovo i5 swap. That's the swap space. This is the main drive, main system, and it can throw you around in circles because mounted at home. That I'm not sure if that's going to be root or home. I think that's going to be the root home, not the Don home. So I mean, I call them both home. So the both are your home directory. The apps call them home. So you have to learn how to get around. Really pay attention to where you are. Well, what we're interested in right now, though, is that this is the SanDisk cruiser pattern, 2 gigabyte hard disk. USB disk. Dev SDB1, Windows 95 Pt32 bootable. It may be saying that already because I made it bootable, but it probably was a really good idea to do that. Okay, so USB. Now I don't have the image selected yet, so we got to go back through that. In this case, go up here, go home, Dawn, downloads, Linux, Debian Live 8.8, AMD 64 meg desktop ISO. There it is. Now we're in the right place. We're on the right drive. We can hit OK. Now it's doing it. I'm going to just go ahead and close that app. And this will not take a long time, but usually I go off and do other things because it takes anywhere from 3 minutes to 10 minutes. Since it's not formatting it or anything, it's just writing. It's extracting. Darn it! It's extracting the files and writing them to the USB stick. Look there. That's a historic picture, isn't it? Astronauts in their little quarantine airstream with President Nixon talking to them. I don't remember which. I think that was a Gemini mission. Yeah, that's a Gemini mission, not Apollo. That's before Apollo. But that's I think I don't know where I got it. Probably off a NASA website. But anyway, I love to have my desktop backgrounds change. And yeah, it's going to take a little longer than I thought. So let me open up the old web browser. And you know what? This would be a perfect time. I'm needing to take a break. This is going to take a little while. So what I'll do is take a break because I got nothing to do but just kill time right now. And then I'll come back when this is finished and do the actual installation. Yeah, sounds like a good idea. All right, this is Dawn. I'll come back in 10 minutes or whatever, 20 minutes, and we'll finish up. Yeah. Okay. Bye-bye.